I just thought before we get into this part of the video, what I've completely missed is what did I do to clean the keys. Now, very simply actually, the keys were just washed in warm soapy water. Now when I say warm soapy water, basically the keys were put into a sink of warm soapy water, and I know people say it doesn't matter what washing up liquid you use. I will probably say in my experience there's only one washing up liquid to use, and in the UK that is called Fairy Liquid. I don't know whether it goes around the world, but in the UK it tends to be the better for doing this sort of stuff. It tends to get rid of the grime, shall we say. So they were put into a bowl of warm soapy water. They were left to soak for, I don't know, 15-20 minutes or so. And then what I did was I then, for each key, scrubbed the key with one of these, a toothbrush. Why a toothbrush? Well, because their head is lovely and small. The bristles are quite stiff for a toothbrush, because obviously they're designed to clean your teeth. And they get into all the small nooks and crannies that a key has. And if I look around here for a key, as you can see, they are rather weirdly shaped. They have holes like so, which this toothbrush can get into, just to give it a clean. Now this is one of the old filthy ones that's broken, so I obviously didn't clean that. And then once I'd cleaned the keys themselves, what I then did was I took the keys out of the soapy water, left them to drain for a couple of minutes, and then I put the keys back in a bowl, or back in the sink, which was filled with just clean water, and let them sit in there just to rinse them off. Effectively what I then did was just drained the water out of the sink and left them for an hour, and then I put them on the radiator just so they could dry off completely before they've got put in the boxes that you saw me reassemble onto the keyboard in the last part of this series. But as I look back at the when I was looking back through editing, I realised that I actually hadn't told you how I cleaned the keys. That's how I cleaned the keys. Nothing more than that, and they've come up pretty well. I'm sitting here looking at the keyboard, which is beside me now. So based on that, the fact they've come up pretty well, I'm not going to do any more on them. They're nice to touch. They aren't horrible to touch anymore. So hopefully that is gives you a bit of an insight of how the keys were cleaned. Now what I was going to do was I was going to put the strip, the plastic strip, which I've cleaned and is over here. Grab hold of it, there you go. The locking strip, I was going to put that straight back in. Then I thought to myself, actually, you know what, I'm going to test the keyboard first, because just in case I have to take it to pieces again. Having marked the ribbon connectors, we can put them back in with a bit of luck fairly easily without doing any damage. That one should theoretically just slot in there, which it does, and that one there should slot into that position there, which it also does. Now I've got the speakers out. This one needs to be switched on. Switched on. And obviously this is in a state of opening, but if I put this back on like so, I can then plug in the audio cables. We can give it some juice. Got to plug it in. Right, now we'll try giving it some juice. Right, so question is, does it work? Well, that's positive, the keyboard's making noises. Dead key is working. You know what, I'm going to take that as a success. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video, I'm going to unplug this, I'm going to flip this over, go and get some double-sided sticky tape and put the locking strip back in, and then I think we can put the keyboard back in this machine. So we've now solved the dead key issue. This is what the, by the way, if you're looking at this on top and you're wondering what are these green splodges, frog tape. Great stuff, frog tape, because it doesn't leave any residue on the keyboard. Anyway, I'm going to switch the cameras off, and I'm going to flip this over and go and get some double-sided sticky tape. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. So to put the locking strip back in, it's not glue, it's double-sided sticky tape. And I found somewhere that does the exact correct double-sided sticky tape. And basically what you need to do is literally you will just put a strip of double-sided sticky tape all the way down the keys, and then you peel the other side off and you're good to go. Now I need to cut the end of this off, which I'll do with a blade. So there's a blade. And the simple reason why I'm doing that is because the end was left loose, so its stickiness has gone a little bit off. So starting at this end and working my way down. And then just using my blade over here, just trim the edge off like that, which is done. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this piece here. Just like that. And then we just need to lift the double-sided piece. Like so. And then the plastic strip can go back in place. And need to get it tight on one end, like so. And I just need something to push that down with. I would normally use a roller, but you can't get a roller into here. Have to be, I don't want anything sharp, so let's just try this. improvised tool. It does the trick, it puts it down. Right. So that's the keyboard reassembled, the locking strip back in. I suppose the next job really is to put this back into the synthesizer. And just let me just stop the ups. The autofocus was having a bit of a mare. Yeah, so let's get this put back in the synthesizer I think now. I do want to look at the EEPROM chip though, which I might do actually off camera because I can't work out what version of firmware is actually installed on this JX3P because nobody has actually written it on the EEPROM chip. So I just want to have a quick look at the EEPROM chip, see if I can get any more information, excuse me, out of it. Otherwise, I might have to go and search and find out how you actually tell what version of firmware you have on a JX3P because it doesn't have a digital display. So it'll be some random light combination, I suspect, because that's how they normally did it in those days. So let's get the body of the synth up and let's get this keyboard put back in. Okay, multi-bit screwdriver. I've turned the synth over. I've lined the holes up. I've got my bits box with the screws in it. So theoretically, this is just a case of screwing them into the chassis, and job should be a good one. Flip the keyboard over, put the connectors in, and the keyboard job is done. Need to go back to the original video I did on the assessment and see what is left outstanding after this. Right. There. As always, I never fully tighten these up until I've got all the screws in place, because quite often you need some subtle readjustments. And there's that one final one in the middle. Like so. So start from the corners. Feels to me like these screws actually could do with a washer on them. I don't think I've got any washers of the right size. Maybe that's a job to do off camera, is just see if I can go and source some washers, because the hole is much bigger than the screw, which either means that the screws have been changed at some point, or the holes were originally were drilled bigger. Now what I'm loath to do is overly tighten the screws, because I don't want them burrowing into the baseboard. I mean, at the end of the day, this is literally just chipboard or fiberboard, I think is the sort of now common accepted name for this stuff, which means if you put too much pressure on it, the screws just kind of burrow themselves into the board. So what I will look to do, I think, is just look to get some washers. Hopefully I can get some black washers for them, and we will just put some washers around those screws that will give it a little bit more surface area onto the board, and therefore they won't burrow into the board. So now we've done that, if I now grab hold of this and lift it up and turn it over, there you go, and just do that. I just want to make sure these are free, which they are, and we'll reconnect the keyboard just like that, and just like that. So, as I said at the beginning of this keyboard rebuild section, bad news for me, good news for Gary. I think we now have a fully functioning JX-3P keyboard. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, I just now need to go and work out what is left to do on this particular keyboard. So I'll go and have a quick look at the original assessment, but I think we're almost there. And on that note, for this particular piece of the restoration, live long and prosper, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.